Just hanging out here till people show up. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. We are all set at my end. I'm just going to give a few minutes to make sure everyone gets in that's interested in doing our session today on how to edit photos. For some reason, I can't see who's here yet. I see a bunch of people coming in. That's awesome. So how many people are going to actually have the app downloaded? Does anyone have the app downloaded that's going to follow along and actually edit, or are you guys just all watching as we do the Snapseed tutorial? All right, excellent. Okay, are you guys going to attempt to follow along, or are you going to try it, or are you just going to watch it? Because you can watch this video back if it's any help and afterwards too. But basically, I want to give everyone just basically an introduction to this, to some of the things I do, because every picture, I would say 99% of all the pictures, 99% of all the pictures I post, I usually run through an app, even if it's just to do some basic editing. And I'm going to touch on the reasons why first off. So that's one of the things I'm going to cover: why you should edit, why it's not wrong to edit, you're not cheating the photograph, and it's basically, we'll go through some basic stuff. There's so much stuff in this free app that you can do. And I even have Lightroom and Photoshop, which I'm subscribed to through my MacBook. I have access to that on my phone as well, but I always default to this app. It's so easy to use. And even the iPhone photography editing app, they have the generic one that comes with the phone when you take a picture. Even that's pretty good now. They've really come a long way with that. But for some reason, I just like this. It has a great text option too. So basically, the reason why actually is Crystal here, because Crystal wanted to. I was going to use one of her pictures. I'm not sure. I can't see who's in for some reason, but I can see who comments. So I'm going to do a couple of portraits. I'm going to do a landscape. I'm going to do a picture of a coffee shot. Just some basic stuff that I do that I post all the time, and go through the reasons why I do it. That's really what I want to cover today in this probably an hour. So when you open up your Snapseed, this is what you see on the screen is what you would get. This basically is the phone turned long way. So you can edit two ways. You can edit vertically or horizontally. I'm doing it horizontally just because it will make the screen bigger. I mostly use the phone the other way, up and down vertically for editing. But I'm going to do it this way, so it might be a little bit different for me because everything gets shifted off to the side. The reason why we edit our pictures, I'll do that first before we dive into a picture, is because your eyes see in three dimensions, and your eyes are extremely, how could you say this, intelligent. They adjust all the light coming in to show you the depth of the view. So when you take a photograph, your camera basically adjusts the light to one object or one part of the photograph. So if it's, you know yourself, if it's very bright out and there's someone standing in the light, they turn out dark. If you and obviously if it's a dark room, everything turns out dark. But the thing is, when you look at something, your eyes adjust, but the camera doesn't. So that is usually what editing does, is it makes these adjustments. So it'll bring out the highlights, it'll bring out the darks, it'll adjust the shadows. So obviously the difference here between let's say a phone and a camera at this point is cameras, as you move up in money, have certain features to them. So, for example, if you're a wedding photographer and you're photographing in situations where you can't use a flash because you're in a church, let's say, and you can't use a flash, so you have a low light situation. Well, you buy a camera that's designed to work in low light. But other than that, it's still a camera, but it has these features in it. Some cameras have a huge ability to take a large file, a large megapixel photograph. So when you move up into these like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 cameras, basically that's what you're buying. You're buying something to suit your need. If you're a sports photographer, you want the camera that's going to shoot extremely fast because you need to capture the athlete in motion. So that might not be a camera that you need to take a wedding photo because your bride and groom is pretty much static most of the time. So that's really what you're getting into when you get into expensive cameras. But all the editing applies to all other cameras. So whether it's your phone or your basic DSLR or your point and shoot, you're still going to have the same result the photographer has. The difference is he's more skilled on how he composes the shot. He may adjust with some of the settings, and then he's going to go off and edit it. And some wedding photographers, they actually send their photographs off to be edited by somebody else. So we're going to get started with this layout here. So basically, what you're seeing is you can open up the pictures or you can tap anywhere to open a photograph. If we go up to the corner here, you get there's settings, there's a help and feedback page, and there's tutorials. So you can actually get tutorials right off of the app here. So that's another thing that you can do. So we won't worry about that today because we're going to walk through ourselves. So let me get rid of my mouse. It's driving me nuts. All right. So if you guys have a question, if you ask a question, because I'm watching out the corner of my eye, just throw a bunch of question marks beside it and I'll see it. Other than that, I'll catch up on these great comments later. But if it's a question, you want me to see it, you're stuck, just shoot that up. So we're going to basically, let me get rid of that. Okay. So we're going to go and we're going to tap anywhere to open a photo. So we're going to start off with, we're going to take this one right off the bat. So we're going to open up this picture. So this is Crystal's little boy. She sent this to me yesterday to work on. So if you look at this picture, this is taken on a phone, exactly like this, how it was sent to me. So some of the things, we'll go through some of the things that we need to fix that I see right off the bat. Now, this is no fault to the person taking the photographer because you're dealing with a lighted situation. There is nice light, though, in this picture on the child's face. But you can see that it is kind of washed out, and there's a pink feel to the photograph. The light has done that. So as you can see over on the side here, we've got some options here. We've got some quick, you could call them basically filters. So just like your Instagram, you've got these options here that you can click on, and you're gonna get. So let's see what happens. You're gonna get stuck with that if you pick that. So we're gonna go back to the current now. There's also one that says on the side, last edits. So let's say, for example, you edited this picture and you had another one that was taken at the same time, maybe of another child. You would, when you open that picture up, you can actually click on last edits and it will do whatever you did to the last picture, which would be this one, and that would roll over onto the next picture. So that's one way you can speed things up. So if, for example, Diane, let's say, for example, she's an interior designer, so she goes takes photographs of a kitchen and she takes 10 pictures. The lighting in that room is pretty much going to be the same for all those pictures, but she might want to bring out some of the colors in the kitchen cabinets. She might want to, maybe she wants to make them all black and white, who knows. But by creating that one picture, when you go to the next one, you can click last edit, and it will do that for you. So you can quickly run through a bunch of photographs. And even if you make your own, you put text on it, it'll carry that text over because it was all in the last edit. So that's a great feature that I use as well. So we're gonna stick with current here. So we're gonna get out of there. So here's our little fella. So I got to get the. So we're gonna go over on the side here. We're gonna skip those last edits. So some of the options we have is we're gonna go to this little fella here. There you go. So that was this pencil. That is all these options. So we have all these things to play with to do the picture. We can quickly run through these. Tune image is basically your most important thing off the bat. That's where you're going to get your, if we click that on, you're going to see that it's going to give us, oh, it works differently here. We can change the brightness in the picture. We can change the contrast. Contrast meaning it would make it look a little bit more richer. It would bring out some of the darks. It would bring out some of the lights at the same time. Very common for a JPEG picture. When a camera takes a picture, it puts it into a JPEG form, and there's quite a bit of contrast used in that. So pretty much every photograph would have some contrast. Saturation is your color. So maybe we can try these out. If I show you, you can see that little line at the top. It's showing you the saturation. So we just added all our saturation there just by putting our finger on the screen and moving it up. So we can come back to 0. The ambience, if you can see what, basically, you know what? The best thing to do is try these out. You can see what's happening here. You can see how now, by bringing the ambience down, we've really made the child pop out from the background a little bit more than it was. So you can see what that's doing. So that might be an asset to you down the road. Highlights are just basically going to bring out all the lighted areas. So you can see it'll bring out all the lighted areas. It will take them down. A lot of times will use this where I take highlights out because maybe it's a bright day or there's just a bit too much light in the picture, but I don't want to bring the exposure down to the point where it gets dark. I just want to take out those really bright spots. So bring that back up for this one. And then shadows. Shadows is interesting and very important. Like I said before, if you take a photograph and it turns out all black, the shadows are very strong in the picture. So basically what we can do is you can see what happens here. So this may be not the best example for shadows. We'll find something else. But you can see how it darkens and lightens because it's allowing the spaces where there's a shadow to just get the light. It knows they're dark spots, so it's just allowing the dark spots to lighten up. So that's what bringing your shadows are. Most other applications will still have these same features. They may be named something a little bit different, but most times they're the same. Warmth is, if you've got a sunset photograph, you might add a little bit more warmth. We can add, there's the warmth to the picture, or we can make it look cold. So warmth is very self-explanatory. So there's that option. So now, if you look at the bottom, there's a little pencil with some stars. That kind of represents a little bit of magic. So if you press that, it'll do an automatic adjustment for you. It'll figure it out itself. We don't want that. So you can see that there's an X and a check mark. Actually, my face is in the way of the check mark. So there's the check mark. So basically, if you've done it, let's say we've adjusted this photograph and we like everything from this application, this setting, the tuning setting, we would click check. So you click that, and then you can go to another part of the application and pick something else to use. So I'm just going to press X here and get out of there. So now we're back to normal. So let's go over and see some other things. So you can details, you can sharpen the picture, add structure, which is like texture. So let's say, for example, it was a picture of my face and you wanted to bring out all the wrinkles and the details, you would use structure for that. Some people call it texture. Curves is the ability to, it might be a bit of an advanced feature, But again, it's going to allow you to do basically what we were doing in the tuning with the shadows, the brightness, and it works in a curve formation. And we've heard a lot about curves lately. So basically that's what that is. White balance is going to be very important because white balance, if you look at the picture, actually we'll do the white balance on this picture now. So let's go, I'm clicking it. I forget that I'm on a phone. So let's go to white balance. So white balance is what you do to adjust the lighting of the room. So like I said, this picture to me seems a little bit pink. I want to adjust that. So I'm going to see it says temperature. So if I touch down on my screen, I have two options. I have temperature and tint. So there you can see I can do tint or I can do temperature. Temperature works kind of like the warming. It's going to basically make it look warmer so that it's hot or cold, your picture. Yeah, your iPhone X will have some of these. The name of this app is Snapseed, and it's a free app. But definitely, yeah, your phone will have a lot of these things. So once I just run through some of the basics, we'll go into editing, and everything that we talk about will apply to any photo on any application. So the tinting is where we're going to get rid of this pinky color. So when I go to the tint, if I do this, see the green and there's the pink. I want to bring a bit of that pink out of there. There's to me too much pink in the picture because it's making the pillow look, the white on the pillow on the flag should be white, but it's actually pink. So we're going to bring it back a bit. Now there's another option. What am I doing? Let me get out of here. If I click on this little, eyedropper, the trick to white balance is you take the dropper and you put it on something that would be gray. By doing so, it says, okay, if that's supposed to be gray, then I'm going to adjust the picture so that is gray. And that's how white balance works through that automatic eyedropper system. So we're actually going to do that. If you look at that picture, I'm quite happy with how that's changed. So I'm going to click that on. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to press the check mark. And now I have that. Now, if you want to see what you've done with this app, all you have to do is place your finger on the photograph and you see it go back. So when you're editing, by putting your finger on the photograph on your phone, you will see that it goes back to the color or the original picture. So you can see that we've taken a bit of the pink and red out, and so now we've got our picture back to where we actually imagine our room to be like. We don't want that pink. For this picture, we don't want that pink feel. And there's a lot of things that play into it. As you can see, too, see his hands? Because he's a very fair-skinned boy, but he's been on his hands probably for a while, his hands look a little odd because all the blood is rushing into his hands. So this is something a photographer, I would look at and say, okay, you know what? When we're going to make an adjustment to his hands to make them look less pink. Because even though that's naturally occurring when you're looking at the photograph, something is happening. It's throwing you off. Like, why does his hands look? There's too much attention to his hands, and we want the attention on the face. So with that said, where does your eye go in a photograph? And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the thirds rule, but when you crop a photograph, if you're out taking a photograph, you want to try and get the focal point of your photograph into one of the thirds. So basically, imagine if you took your screen and broke it down into three. So we're gonna go into the crop part. Now, do you see what happens here with the photograph? It automatically brings up a grid. Now you can see the thirds. So ideally, what I want to do in this situation is I want to can I ask you guys a question? Can you see the mouse on the screen? Can you see that the arrow? Maybe it'll be helpful if you can. I don't know if you can or not. I think you should, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some cropping adjustments to this picture. I'm going to keep it square, I think, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring no mouse. Okay, good. I'm going to make some adjustments here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of the bottom. Okay, got you on the nose. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that bottom hand. Now, normally you wouldn't crop a hand, but in the photograph, the hand was already cut off in half. So we're not going to want to look at that hand. Anyways, the most important thing would be the eye. So in this case, you can see what I've done. I've moved the eye so it falls right on a third. The picture now is cut up into thirds as you see the grid. And I've chosen where we're going to be looking. Your eyes, when you look at a picture, always go to the third. So now we've got the highlight. So there's your first major tip of being a photographer. Always work to the rule of thirds. So now I've cropped him. I put his eye there. So we're going to go OK. And already to me, like, let's go back. Look now. There he is. He's just floating in the middle of the picture. But now he's in your face. Now you're looking right at him. You're not even looking at you're not looking at the stuff around him. Your first look to me goes right to his eye. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we got that done. So we've changed the look of the picture and as far as the white balance goes. And now we've cropped it. So now we can pretty much play with all the other things. Now remember, if you do something wrong, all you have to do is go up to the top. There's that little arrow backwards with like layers. You click that on and it's going to say undo. So if you don't like, after saving that last crop, let's say, for example, you didn't want it, you can undo it just like any other application out there. You can go backwards. But what you can do is you can go view your edits. And I'll move my face again. And you can see that there's all what we've done. There's the original picture. There's the white balance. And there's the crop. So you'll have all these here. You can actually go back and play with them again. Take them out. Delete them. Do whatever. So that's... and again, you just sit on got so much time on your hands now. Just sit on the couch and play with a photograph. Just play with one. And when you do export it, though I will get to it, you have a choice to save it or save a copy. So save a copy. That way you don't override your original, and then you can go back and practice again. So when I look at this picture now moving forward, on his nose, which I'm going to zoom in on, you can see he's obviously cut himself. Now, that's not a birthmark. That's not something that we need to have there. That's obviously just a scrape. So as a photographer, I would definitely take that out. Now, how do we do that? Very easily, actually. So we're going to go back to our pencil. We're going to go in here and we're going to look at all these options. The most obvious would be the healing one, which is the one with the Band-Aid. So I'm going to click that on. And now I'm going to zoom in. Now, to zoom in, you're going to take two fingers, place them on the photograph, and spread the fingers apart. And that will work as a way to crop in. This takes a little bit of practice, but it's very simple. So basically, you can see on the bottom left, there's actually a little window. If I touch the window, I can move that square around, and it's showing me what I'm actually working on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to place it over that scar on his nose. I'm just going to touch it. And as you can see, it has healed. So what the app has done is it's taken the information around where I touched and said, okay, well, I'm just going to take that color, that texture, and fill in the gap. So I'm going to go Oh, that was a mistake. So I'm just going to go backwards on that. So as you can see down the bottom below the nose, there's 2 arrows. You can go back and forth and do whatnot. So I like that little edit on the nose, so I'm going to press the check mark. And then we go back, and now when you look at him, you don't look at the little scratch on his nose. So you could definitely get carried away with this. This is obviously, Photoshop would do a much better job, more powerful program. But for me, just taking a photograph of someone's kid, let's say, and you want to fix it up, and oh, he's got a scratch, I'll take it out. And I'll show you how you can use that for other things down the road. So right now, we've got a pretty good looking picture. So now, what else can we do with it? See, I could sit and play with this for half an hour having fun with this photograph. So we're going to go in, we're going to go back to the first section where we could adjust the brightness a bit. So I'm just going to play with it and see what I like. I'm going to bring up, I'll bring them up a little bit. Scroll up, contrast. Let's see what happens. Yeah, look, give them a little bit of a punch. Saturation, do we need a little color in there? Maybe. Again, there's no rules here, guys. However you want this picture to look, you have the ability to control it. So here's the ambience, and I want to show, if you bring it up, we can bring out that, if we bring it down, he pops out more, but if we bring it up, he blends in more. So again, this is your choice. What's important to you in this picture? I kind of like it down a little bit. I like him popping out because we're going to do a little bit of editing on the rest of the picture. Highlights, let's see what happens. Well, if we bring the highlights down a bit, you can see his forehead's a bit bright. So he's got a little bit of detail there, so we're going to bring that down. Shadows. Do we want to bring them up? Or, again, I'm not too concerned about the shadows. Yeah, we haven't done the hand yet. I'm going to show you that. And the warmth, I don't need to touch the warmth. So I'm going to save that. So, okay, let's take a look at the hand then. So how can we fix just the hand? We can't use the healing tool because that means it's going to just distort it all. So we're going to go back to the pencil, and we're going to go into selective. That looks like the target. We're going to click that on. Now, the selective basically is going to give us some options. It starts off with basically putting your finger onto the hand. And as you can see, it's giving me a choice. Now, by using the 2 fingers again, by placing them on and bringing them together, I can make it look smaller. So I'm just going to bring that right down like that because that's it. We only want to work with that area. Now, I can adjust the brightness. If I want, I can adjust the contrast. I can adjust the saturation, and I can adjust the structure. So what I want to do is we're going to adjust the saturation. So saturation would be the color. So I'm just going to basically pull the color back. And as you can see, it's scrolling back. We're going to pull that back, and I'm going to go okay. So now the hand has lost quite a bit. Let's put you can see there's our original, and there's our new picture. So his hand is obviously going to be darker. I could brighten it a little bit, so we'll go back to selective. So it's a matter of going back in and out. I'm going to put my finger again on there, and I'm going to brighten this. So I'm going to go the other way, and I'm actually going to make it smaller. This is a pretty advanced move, I think. So if you can mess with this, we'll be okay. So there you go. Now his hand looks a little bit less. Let's hold it down. See the difference? There we go. Original, and that's where we're at now. One of the questions was, can we blur the background? Yes, we can. Again, it wouldn't be 100% in this case. I know with an iPhone, you can actually use the portrait part of the app that will actually allow you to adjust it. Your depth of field is basically what we're talking about here. So how do we adjust our depth of field where it's blown out at the back? So we will do that towards the end. I still want to play with the coloring on the background, so we will go in. Now you can do the same thing. There's also a brush option. So let's go back in and do the brush option. I think it's called. So again, this is another thing we can do. We can use a brush, and we're going to do something with his eyes. So we're going to just give his eyes a little bit of... I'm just going to give his eyes a little bit of exposure. So exposure is, we'll lighten them up. I'm just going to go with a +3. I'm going to basically just zoom right in and just brush the eye over with my finger. I'm just taking my finger like a paintbrush, and I'm doing that. And now I'm going to move over to the other eye, and I'm going to do the same thing. I use my finger. Now, I've zoomed in on my phone. I have an iPhone 10, and I've got lots of room here to work with. You could use a little stylus or something, and then we're going to go in. So now we made his eyes pop a little bit more. See, eyes, I could have gone a little bit more if I wanted to. Like I said, we could spend all day on this. So now let's go back to options. One of the things, let's go to the details. So the details, we have choices here. Now, mostly ladies in here, and I know ladies, when you guys do a selfie, everybody wants to smooth the skin out. Men can get away with not doing that, and children as well. You can get away with some of the details. So basically, if you were doing a photograph, let's say you were doing a picture of yourself, the structure, you can soften the picture. So that's kind of your sharpness and your, see, you can soften your clarity or whatever. So I could do that. To me, this doesn't work in this picture at all. You need that detail in his face because we're still working on it. So I might even, I don't even need to really touch the structure. I could pop it a little bit. It basically brings out, so what the structure does, it takes all the lines, all the breaks between the colors, like say the hair. So each side of that color, it takes it and it enhances it. In order to smooth, what the program does is it takes the break between the two colors or any color, and it softens them and brings them together, and it smooths them out. So that's how that is working. So basically, it's just blending it all in. But we're detailing it now by bringing it out. So we're going to do that. And the other one is sharpening. Sharpening will just enhance them. So we can add a little sharpening because he's a cute little guy. I like the details, and the eyes are popping, the lips are, and the little teeth are popping. So we're going to bring them up. So again, we'll go before and after. Now, it still can use a lot of things here. Now, let's go back to that brush. We can go back to the brush, or like I said, there's so many things you can do here. Let's see what else we can do. They have options down here of portrait. There is a portrait button. That, again, will find the face and it'll smooth it out. It's kind of what Instagram does, or one of those apps that you have. You can actually change the pose of the head, move the head. It will find the head. Again, it's going to be a little bit primitive probably. You can do black and white. You can turn your picture to black and white. It, again, has a bunch of options, filters. And basically a filter is someone who, like what we're doing here is when this picture's done, technically you've created a filter. You've created all the adjustments to what you like, and that is your last edit. When you go to the next picture, you've created your own filter. There's some like stuff like grunge. You can make the picture look grungy. Again, a lot of the stuff down below are little features like that, but we're trying to work with the basics for you. Like there's a glamour glow. Obviously, it's going to, again, smooth the skin out and give you that look. But go in and play with them. Mess around with them. See what they do for you, because you might find a way to use them together. Same with drama. Make the picture look more dramatic. Let's quickly jump into vignette. Vignette is quite common. So even though one of the questions was, can we blur it? Yes, but we can also darken it. So we can move this by putting your finger on that dot. We have some options we'll go to outer brightness, and we can darken it down. So I can do that if I wanted to. I can darken, and I can change how much. So if I want to have a little bit vignette and make it a little bit more prompt, basically what you're doing is you're framing it with darkness, or you could do the reverse. You have a choice where you could say, well, that's great, but now he looks a little dark inside. I can make him lighter inside. So again, you can, and this picture, the way we've done it, looks a little vintage anyways, because we've taken those pinks out. So, but I'm going to have a little vignette on here. I'm not going to mess too much inside, but let me go back to the outer. Outer brightness. I'm going to bring it up. I still want to have a bit of vignette because we want to look at him when we want to look at the picture. We don't want any distraction. So I'm going to save that. So we'll go back from there. It does look a little, the picture, I mean, again, your phone, how it's set is completely different than mine. So that's where we're at now. So, I did mess around with one other thing. I was playing with this picture earlier, and we're going to go to curves now. This, again, is an advanced option. This is basically playing with contrasts, highlights, shadows, all in one. But over here, this, again, there's so much in an hour. I don't want that. There's so much to talk about in an hour, but I just wanted to show you guys what can be done. So I want to finish this one up. So let's go back into the curves, and we're going to go to the colors and to the red. So this, I was messing with this to do this picture, and I'm going to basically play with a little bit more. I'm going to take a little bit more of the pink out by just bringing that arc, by touching the line. Basically what I've done is just change the curves a little bit. Now I've changed it even a little bit more. So I'm going to save it like that. We could do another one of these and go into more detail on what curves are. You could also watch a tutorial on what curves are, but again, amazing. That's more of an advanced thing. So when you've played around with all the other things, that's something you can dive into, but I just want to show you the capability here. All right, so even after adjusting that, I can still go back and adjust the saturation and make all the colors still come out. The thing is, what I've done is I've taken a lot of those other colors away that I didn't want, that were kind of affecting his skin color. Now his skin color is starting to pop out from the background. Before it was all pink, it was all blending in. So what else can we do? Can we blur it? Yes, we can. So let's go down to lens blur. We click this on, and this works. You can see right off the bat when it comes on what it's done. Now, basically the inside circle, this can work in an oval. By putting your fingers on the screen, you can move this thing around. So we can protect the inside of the circle. And if we touch the screen, we have a choice between the blur strength, so how strong the blur is going to be on the outside, the transition. So let's just see blur. If we put that on, you can see what we're doing here with the picture. The only problem with doing this is in this picture. His arm, it's basically working on a flat level. Now his arm, technically, if you shot this with a DSLR and you were using your lens to create the depth of field, his arm would not be faded because it would be in the same plane as his face. So it's kind of like showing that it's Photoshop. But what we might be able to do is do this. We might be able to bring this down and do that with it. But again, now you're getting the carpet behind him further back. It doesn't look right to me. So in this case, I wouldn't use this unless I went right out a bit and just did the outside edges. So if I made the transition bigger, and then again, the vignette strength, you could do that. You could get away with that. So let's just leave it like that and see what happens. So you could do that. There's a little bit of blurring going on there, not too much. Doesn't affect his hand, but it just catches the outside of the picture. So we'll actually go with that on this picture. So let's have a look at where we've come from. So there's the original, and there's our new picture. It's looking really good. So from there, I mean, I could leave this alone. It would be so much easier for me to photograph or edit when I'm just sitting on the couch and I'm just completely right into the middle of my phone. But really, that's it. I mean, you might at that point go back to the beginning and, you can, again, we might want a little bit of saturation. We can pump up the saturation on him a little bit. His rosy cheeks come out, and we'll go okay. So let's say that's done. We're going to go now down to, I should move my face, down to this little box with the arrow, the export box. So I'm going to click that on. So you've got options now. You can probably share this straight to social media if you wanted to. You could save it. I'm just basically, you could create a copy with permanent changes. Well, I think they're all permanent changes. So I usually do this. I usually go save a copy. So I hit save a copy. Is all my adjustments, and it's saved. It'll be saved to my photos, and it's done. And then there's our picture. So there you go. So as you can see what we did with him, I mean, when you're taking a photograph, that's what you're seeing to me, but that's what you're getting. So you can see what the edits are doing, and I really wanted to walk through this picture to show you the struggles a lot of people have. That's what they want, or something like that, but they think it's because they don't have a good camera, and that's not true. Today, an iPhone is amazing. So there's that picture done. Now I'm just going to grab another one. So I'm going to go to, hold on, open from device. I'm going to go to, I got a little folder here. There's some, I guess people do a lot of, you know what, this food one's a good one. Because I'm always taking pictures of meals and stuff. So, all right. So, here's a picture of a nighttime shot in the kitchen. It didn't look like that. To my eyes, it did not look like that, but that's how it came out. So, basically, we're going to go into, we could do the white balance right off the bat, and we could change some things out. So, there's a lot of yellow in the picture because the lights in our kitchen are yellow. So we're going to pull that back a little bit. You can see already we lose a little bit of color, but now it's starting to look a little bit more separated. The colors are separated more. They're not blended in with all that yellow sheen over it. So I'm gonna save that right off the bat. So white balance first. Do the white balance. Get that out of the way. Get your picture looking to the tone you want. Some cameras, when you get up to DSLRs, they have functions on them. When you go to a flash, it will adjust the white balance for you because the light is going to change it quite a bit. So it has some features in it. Nighttime, white balance changes. Daytime, bright days, cloudy days, always affects the white balance. So we're going to go into here. So now we're going to go in here and just mess around with it. It's hard to do the brightness on this screen because I'm not sure. Well, it's up there. So this picture is looking better than it was. So I'm going to again scroll through these basics. Do I want some I'm going to do this one really fast just to show you. I'm going to bring the contrast a bit up. See what the ambience does. This one is a little tricky. It starts to blend again if I go high. If I bring it back, there's more separation. But it starts to look a little bit, might be all right too. Food's tricky. Highlights. Do we want to adjust the highlights? Highlights make those onions pop out. So we're gonna for this one we're gonna go up. Shadows. Do I want to bring the shadows or do I want to bring the shadows down? I'm gonna leave it like that. Warmer. Again, the warmth is kind of like white balance in a sense, but I've just adjusted this a little bit. So I just want to see where we've come here. So you can see I haven't done a lot, but it's better. It's popping out. So I'm going to get out of there. And I'm going to go back to my pencil. I'm going to pick something else. What else do I want to mess with here? Okay, I'm going to go to the details. And I'm going to see if I bring the structure up, it's going to give, if I bring it down, it blends the food. Do I want to, I am normally a high contrast photographer. A lot of my pictures have high contrast. A lot of design photos are sometimes washed out white because that's the look. Like if you look in a magazine, they do a lot of brightening to the photograph and then they enhance the detail. Same with wedding photography, do that, but I sometimes tend to bring the whole picture out. Again, it's a style. That's where art comes in. Painters do certain things. Editing is also a certain thing. So you'll probably find you'll edit the picture a certain way to your liking, and I think that's what you want to do. So do we want to sharpen it a little bit? We'll sharpen it a little bit. So sometimes when I've done that, definitely I can look at this picture now and I can see all the things, all the different ingredients better. Now, what I might want to do is I'm looking at it and going, well, the way I took this picture, I can each corner I see a bit of the pan. Do I want that pan? So I'm going to say, you know what? Oh, I don't want to do that one. That's expand. You can make the picture bigger, but that's... So I'm going to crop it. I'm going to go to the free option, and I'm just going to adjust it to get rid of that. I'm just going to have this a picture of vegetables. There you go. I'm just going to have it like, I don't want to see the pan. I just want to look at the vegetables. So now you can see up in the corners, there's those little black spots. This is kind of fun. If you go into your picture and you take the healing brush, if you click on that top corner, I can just start having fun up here because you can't tell. Like I just added vegetables there by clicking it on. So now I'm going to make it look like the plate maybe kept on going, let's say. Oh, it looks like I'm getting, there we go. Let's say that. So let's do that now. Let's go there. So now you can mess with the corners. You can get rid of that little dark spot in the corner by adding it in, and no one can tell if it's a piece of broccoli or it's a green bean. So we'll go with that. And I'm going to go back up to the, I'm going to go brightness. I'm going to pump up the brightness a bit again. And I might, again, I have a way of doing it. And now I could go to the brighten button here. I'm going to hit that. And maybe... So before, there's my shot I took, and there's my after. I could even go back and sometimes food I maybe over, let me go, sorry. I'm going to just add a little color to it, a bit more color. So my dinner looks better edited. So again, little things, took the corners out. Now when I look at it, there's actually a spoon in there, believe it or not. And you could, if you want, I just noticed the spoon. I never noticed it before. But now I'm not looking at the outside. I'm looking in the center of the picture, and I've seen the spoon. And that's where you want to look. Your eyes will pick stuff up. So we're going to get out of this picture. So I'm just going to go and save it. Now let's say, for example, you know what? I don't need the other picture. I just want to post this on my food blog. I'm just going to save it. I'll get rid of the other one. I don't want to have two copies. And then do I want to modify it? Sure, modify it. Now the other picture is gone. I have this as a replacement. So very simple. So let's get out of there and let's pull up another one. Let's go open from device. Let's go down to this little album I put together, and let's this one. Everyone takes a picture like this and they have, this is a nighttime shot, and this is a great example of what our eyes see and what the camera sees. My eyes didn't see this shot. My eyes didn't even see that wire, but it was in there. But I saw the road and I saw the snow, and to me the snow was white. But this picture has been taken and it's adjusted all this. So we'll finish up with this one. Now, first off, I'm going to see if we, with this app, if we can get rid of that wire. So, if you're playing along at home, we're going to try and get rid of that wire. Now, that's a perfectly blue sky. So, it might help us because there's nothing else around to interfere with it. So, we're going to go in and we're going to grab the healing tool. And I'm going to zoom right in. And I'm just going to use my thumb, or my middle finger, not my thumb, as a pencil. And I'm going to rub Oh, what happened? Oh, I did. I think I grabbed. Hold on. Let me go. Did I healing? So I'm going to zoom in. And for some reason, oh, there it goes. It was just lagging a little bit. So I'm just basically covering enough of it so that it says, okay, well, he doesn't want the line, but everything around it's blue, then we're going to make it blue. So I'm just going to zoom back in here. So you can see what we've done. We're going to get rid of this line. We're going to have no line there when we're done. So again, it takes a little bit of play. Now, sometimes what you can do, you can, as we're zoomed in so close here, you might, like I said, this is not Photoshop, but I think when we're done, you won't be able to tell. So let's keep going here. Again, this is a great exercise. Just take pictures of stuff and mess around. Okay. So we, with a little free phone app, oh, I don't want that. Take that out. Okay, I'm going to go, okay. We have actually now got rid of that phone line. Doesn't that look great? Now, the other thing is, when you do landscape photography, when you take pictures, it's so hard sometimes to set up perfectly straight. You have to deal with the horizon. And we want the horizon straight. So we're going to go in and we're going to pick the rotate tool. Now, this rotate tool will automatically rotate your picture to a plane. See, you can see straighten angle 0.2%. So it's actually done it for me. So I don't really need to, no, I'm going to go backwards. Oh, so you can spin your picture, do whatever you want in here with it. I'm just going to get out of there again. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to press it again and I'm going to let it do its own thing. I'm going to leave the picture like that, so I'm going to go okay. So now we know that when you look at it, the horizon is there. Now, remember we talked about the third rule? So we're going to go into the cropping point. Let's pull up crop. Now, let's go freestyle, let's say. Or you may want it 16 by 9, for example. But what we're going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to bring up that a little bit like that. Because we don't need to see all that road. But you can see now that the horizon is falling on the third line of the. Now when you look at it, your eyes can fall. You don't want that horizon in the middle of the picture. It just, to me, is not balanced. So what can we do with this picture now? How do we mess with it? How do we bring it to life like we did when we saw it on the street, how we imagined it to be? So we're going to go in and we're going to go right to white balance. I don't think we need to mess with on this one. We're going to go and we're going to go into the basics here. We're going to go first, we're going to go down to shadows. And we're going to play with the shadows a little bit. Now you can see how, actually maybe we will do a little bit with the white balance on the snow. The snow is blue because of the reflection, but what would be really cool is if we can get that snow a whitey color. So you can see by moving the shadows up, we're bringing the road and the fence out, whereas before, now you could do the opposite. You might want a picture like that, just so you can see the little barn in the background and all that. But we're gonna bring the shadows up a little bit. And again, this is all just experimenting and messing around. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna take a brush, and we're gonna go exposure, and we're gonna add a little bit of light along the bottom. I'm gonna go okay. Then I'm gonna go back to the brush, and I'm going to select the temperature. And I want to bring the temperature down. I'm going to bring it down even more. Actually, no, I'm sorry. My bad. I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to go backwards on that. I grabbed the wrong tool. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go undo that. There we go. I'm going to grab that. We're going to saturate. We're going to bring the saturation down. So we're going to go back to the brush, and we'll go saturation. We'll bring the saturation down, and it's going to make the field look a little bit whiter. So now your picture is getting a little bit. We can go back to the brush, and again, someone might say, "Oh, I don't know if I want that field white. I don't want the snow, maybe." You can even do that if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it like that. We're exaggerating a little bit, but I want to show you the capabilities. So now we've done that. We've taken a lot of the color out of the field. Now it looks white like it did the day I took the picture. I'm going to go back to the saturation, and we can play with the saturation a little bit. And I can bring up the saturation just a little, and it makes that sky pop out. Now, the other thing you could do is you might not want to mess with that. We've kind of overdone it a little bit with the red there, but we might want to bring out the blue sky. So how do we bring out the blue sky without messing with the other color? So we can go back to the brush. So you can see how important the brush can be in a photograph. We go to saturation, and we just make the sky a little bluer, let's say. And there you can see now, if I look at where we started, that's where we started, and that's where we're at. So we've come a long way with this picture. And again, this was a picture taken on a phone, and I've already changed it. Now, is it what I want finished? Maybe not. But again, just showing you what we can do with this picture. Is it the best picture? Maybe not. It's just some colory sky. And I think that's what it is. When I know myself, if I go out with my camera and I do landscape, I may only come back with 3 or 4 pictures out of 100 that to me are really worth spending the time to edit. So don't be discouraged if you go out and take a picture that doesn't work. So again, we could say, now the other thing is, let's have a look. Let's actually we got time for one more. I'll do one more, and then we'll pack it in. So we'll go, we'll save a copy, and we'll open one more up. Go down here. I'll do that coffee cup. I'll do a coffee. I'll do this one. Do this one quickly because it's got a few little things on it that we can do. This was taken today. So right away, I've taken the picture upside down. I did it on purpose just for this reason. So we're going to go in here and we're going to go to rotate. So let's rotate it. Oh, that's better right off the bat. The heart now is in the right shape or the right direction when I look at it. And maybe I can get that handle into the corner of the picture and I can zoom in closer. So I go okay there. I'm going to go into crop. And I'm going to edit this up. I'm going to bring this in. Bring that down. And, oh, sorry. There we go. So let's say we're going to keep it like that for argument's sake. Okay. Now, we're back to the same problem. The $5 bill is in the corner of the picture. So that's not a problem. We're going to go to the healing. And we're going to zoom in a bit, and we're going to get rid of that. Look at that. Done. So I've cleaned the corner up really nice. That's all done. Now we go back to white balance. Do I need to do white balance? Let's see. Let's go to the temperature maybe. I kind of like that. That would be the color of the countertop in natural light. So we're going to go with that. Now, we can go down to, and this is something, you can sit on the couch and do this forever. We're going to bring that up a little bit, the shadows. Now I'm going to take the brush, and I'm just going to give a little bit of exposure inside the cup. And then I'm going to go, okay, and then I'm going to go. Now, this little thing over here will show you where the light went. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to just we're going to add a little bit of saturation. Not much will go there, just to bring out, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the coffee. went wrong there. Let's go back. So let's go there. It got a little dark in the middle, but that might have been just the coffee coming up from the bottom. So again, we're doing this really quick. Now, there's our cup of coffee. We're going to go back. Now, one of the things we did the vignetting last time or before, we're going to do the vignette again, but what we can do is we can use the vignette to lighten the outside, right? So now we're making it look more like your magazine look or brightening the whole picture up. So I'm going to go like that. I'm just going to put my finger on it and show you what we're dealing with. That's where we started, and that's where we are maybe in like 2 or 3 minutes. So now it's a much nicer looking picture. I did over enhance the center of the photograph, and I think that's why it looks a little bruised. But that's okay. I'm just going to leave this as is because we're going to finish up. Now, some of the other things you can do in this program, we can add a frame. So we could add a frame. So when you choose the frame you want, maybe we like that. That's kind of neat. When you click on this, by moving your finger, you can decide how big you want the frame to be. And that's kind of cool. So maybe you want to use this picture on your business website. So then you go back in and you go down to text. And as you've seen on some of my other pages and stuff like that, I use a little badge sometimes for Health First Living, for example. So maybe I'll put that badge. I'll do the same thing. So spell it right. So I could have that up in the corner. Again, this is just, I'm moving it with my fingers to make it that size. Let's say, well, you know what? I don't like that one. Well, let's go down to the bottom here. There's 3 options. I can pick the opacity, which is kind of neat. Or maybe I want to change it all together. That's better. I can read it better. So I'm going to stick that right up there. So there's my little logo. And do I like the color? Here's the options. You can look at your picture, pick a, I kind of liked where it was when we first started. So I don't mind that actually, or that. It doesn't matter. It's a choice, right? So there it is. That's what I would do when I'm throwing up a picture on my website or on my Facebook page for Health First Living, or if it was the Caffeinated Couple or True to Castle, that's the kind of thing I would do. And there I have taken this picture. Let's look at it at the beginning. Taken that shot, which really, if I put that on Facebook, no one's going to pay any mind to it. But by spending a couple of minutes, it looks like I've sent it to an editing office and they've done something on it. And again, we did this so quick, and I probably would have changed some stuff in the middle of that picture. You can see how the frame works really well with the quartz counter. So, boom, that's what you do. So remember, when you're taking pictures at home and they don't turn out the way you want them to, it's because you haven't done this yet. So through the day, you take some pictures, and at night, you're sitting on the couch. You give Netflix a break for an hour, and you edit some pictures. So especially great for Janet too. Would be great if Janet's still listening, for when she does photos of her art. Is a great example. You photograph it in certain light, but it doesn't look like it does when you're looking at it with your eyes, and the picture's so different. But you can go in and make these adjustments to make it look like it does. So there we go. That was a lot of fun for me. A good practice for me to walk through my steps. We can do it again. It would be awesome to do it again. You guys can send me even some of your pictures, and then you can compare them to how you edit. We can do that too, because we got lots of time on our hands right now. Even Janet, if you got a picture of your art you want to send in, just maybe go out, take a picture. Maybe we could do this again maybe we can do it again Thursday. And yeah, there's tons. You know what? It is interesting. And there is tons and tons, and we went through this really fast, and we put a lot in there, but I really just wanted to kind of overwhelm everybody with the ability of what we can do with such a free, amazing little app. But maybe I'll post these pictures in the comments so you guys can see them. Yeah, I think we'll do it again, and maybe other people will get into it. It'd be really good for kids too that have phones. So I know a lot of kids use the filters and stuff like this, but this I think a lot of people could have a lot of fun with this without going out and getting anything new. Everyone's got a phone, so yeah, we'll finish up there, and I'll post these pictures up in the comments. And again, if you got any comments, any questions, throw them in there. And why don't we shoot for Thursday? We'll do this again, and maybe even you guys can give me questions ahead of time. And how do you save the picture at this point? Okay, so we'll save this photograph. So I'll touch it on. If you look down beside my face, there's a box with an arrow. You click that on, and it gives you these options. Actually, this one, maybe what we'll do is we'll export, creates a copy with permanent changes. So I'm going to click export. Let's do that. And it's saved, and that picture will show up in my... There it is right there. It's already been put into the gallery. And as you can see, if you look, you can see the difference in the pictures. And you can see the difference between the photos of the little boy there, the pinky color and the red. I may have made the other one a little, now I'm looking at it, maybe I made it a little too bluey green. Who knows? But again, when you're doing a photograph like that, you'd probably spend a bit more time than we did on it because it's a cool, neat shot. So... But if you guys got any photos you want to send to me, and I can edit them so you got something to kind of work towards, I'm all game with that too. I've got lots of time on my hands as well. I finished one of my chores today, so got a bit more time. So anyways, we'll let you go. We'll be back tomorrow with something cool. We'll be doing more of a chat tomorrow, but Thursday we'll shoot for the editing again. So I'll let you guys go. Dinner time maybe. And we'll talk to you all soon. Have a great one, and thanks for joining me today. See ya.